You've seen me do Galaxy before, but this time we are doing a Galaxy Geode cake. Firstly, you'll notice I'm not using a cake drum, I'm using a circle of foam core. There is a good reason for this which will come up later in the tutorial. The cake I'm making is a 5-inch and 7-inch round, so I'm using foam core for my 5-inch top tier to sit on. I'm just applying some ganache to the centre to stick the cake down. You want to make sure that there is a gap between the edge of your board and your cake. This is where the ganache sits to give you a nice straight edge and clean edges without the fillings bulging out. Continue filling and stacking your layers, again making sure the full cake doesn't overhang any of the board. Now we're giving our first coat of ganache. This seals the cake in to keep it fresh and will add lots of stability as it sets, making it much less wobbly. Just make sure to use your scraper or pro froster to take off anything that's overhanging the foam core. Once that's had a few minutes to set, add on your second layer. This one we want to take right down to the board, and as you butt your pro froster or scraper up against the foam core, you'll see the straight edges and sharp top starting to emerge. Just keep filling any little holes and imperfections with more ganache and continue scraping until it's nice and neat. There's a full tutorial on the pro froster which is always in the description box. Now here we have our bottom tier. This is a 7-inch cake and it is placed onto a regular cake drum, then stuck down to a larger cake drum with ganache. And this is our 5-inch tier, which is sitting on foam core. Dampen the ganache with water and cover your cake in white sugar paste. Everything I use is listed in the description box below. You just want to gently go around, pulling out the pleats and smoothing them out for a clean base. Now I'm squashing down the excess paste with my smedger before continuing to cut closer and closer to the cake. This is to ensure a cleaner finish along the bottom. Now to buff out all the small little divots. Grab a pair of flexi smoothers and do all the sides before moving to that top edge, pushing the two together to create your sharp edge. This works best on a ganache base as it's firm enough to handle the pressure. Buttercream can move around a lot if you're not gentle. Your top tier won't sit on your bottom tier without a bit of support, so here I'm using bubble tea straws and I always use one more than the cake sitting on it. So the tier going on is a 5-inch, so I'm using 6 straws, 5 on the outside and 1 in the centre. Once they are cut to the height of your cake, add some ganache as glue and gently stick your 5-inch cake in the centre. Leave this to firm up a little. We are now covering the board in white again using the toilet seat method. And yes, you've guessed it, there's a full tutorial for this below too if you want to watch anything a bit more in depth. For this Galaxy, we're starting with our lighter colours. Pink chroma colour, which is super bright and vibrant, and you just want to spray on different sizes and shapes of blotches all over the cake. Now we're going in with teal chroma colour, or Fractal Colours also does a turquoise. You'll see because these colours are water based, as you slightly overlap the colours you'll get cool new ones where they merge, such as this deep blue purpley colour. We are now getting darker and going in with plum for the deeper, darker parts of space. You just want to fill any white gaps between your blue and pink. The darkest colour left is black, so we are really turning this into a Galaxy now, trying to leave bits of colour popping through, but obviously making it dark enough. Finally, I'm going in with regular blue on top of some of the pinks and blues I've sprayed to add a different dimension to those patches of colour. Stars are made with white dust such as snowdrift powder or whitening powder, just mixed with a little water, and you'll want your cake decorating toothbrush for dipping in. Use your thumb to flick the bristles, which will launch tiny little stars all over your Galaxy. Don't worry if some are bigger or smaller, or if some fly on at an angle, they just look like little shooting stars. Try and let this dry a little bit if you can. With the Dresden tool, mark out where you want your geode channel to be. I prefer the channels over those V-shaped ones because, well, we know what some of them can end up looking like, don't we? Then go in gently with your knife, cutting out bits of the cake to create a small channel. Now you'll see why we used foam core to sit our 5-inch cake on. This might baffle a few people who aren't in the UK because they haven't worked with our absolutely solid cake boards. To get our channel to run seamlessly without this ledge in the middle, you can just take a nice sharp scalpel and cut through the foam core just enough to take out that small piece. You just can't do this with a regular UK cake board or a drum. However, if you're using a regular cake card in the US, you won't have any problems cutting through it. You want to cover your cut cake to keep it, brace yourself, I'm going to use the word,
moist.
So I'm just taking some ganache and very gently and slowly covering up all the sponge. Leave this to set if you can before rolling a very thin piece of white paste to cover the whole of the insides. This doesn't have to be neat as you're not going to see it when it's covered in crystals, but we are using a white backing to illuminate the crystals from behind and make them look brighter. Gently just trim it all down to meet the contours of the channel. For your crystals, I have this bag of rock sugar. It comes under lots of different names, sugar crystals, rock sugar, crystal rocks, but you can easily pick them up on Amazon and I'll leave them linked. This bag has lots of different sizes, some larger pieces and some sharp pieces. They stick perfectly to the white sugar paste with piping gel, so just brush the piping gel down the whole channel and start placing the crystals in. You can use a spoon to help you get right in there at the back, but if you're a bit of a perfectionist like I am, you'll want to hand place each crystal, which is exactly what I did. Once they are all in, try to leave them to set a little so they're really stuck down. Don't worry about any ganache or the edges looking rough as we're going to be painting these gold. Now look at these awesome crystal clusters. Nope, they're not isomalt, they're actually resin. These were sourced by my bride as she wanted quite a specific look and she managed to grab them in a range of blues and greens and purples, which I think look fab. Having them already made like this can be a huge bonus if time is not on your side. They also make great keepsakes after the wedding. You can of course still make them from isomalt if you wish. I had some moulds on hand as backup just in case you couldn't source the ones you wanted or if the seller couldn't get them to us on time. These are just silicone moulds that you pour the hot liquid sugar into, let it set, take them out and blowtorch any surface bubbles away. Although isomalt is classed as edible, it's not something you would actually want to eat. Eating a little bit too much of this can have a laxative effect. So I know some of you like to go down the all edible route, but just think of this when weighing up your options. You don't want your bride and groom to actually be able to fart themselves into a whole new galaxy. Now, because I don't know which resin has been used, although most are fine and non-toxic, I'm going to be using this clear edible glaze spray to spray the bottoms and create a barrier. If you've ever sprayed this stuff near your phone, you will know just how effective a barrier it is. Spray the bottoms of each and leave them to set. She also sourced this awesome Mutual Weirdness Forever topper, which I'm sure was from Etsy. Now grab your crystals, whether they're resin or poop power ones, and play with the layout. As an extra precaution, or to add height to your crystals, you can use blobs of sugar paste, dampen them and stick your crystals to it. Just play around with the placement, and if there are any gaps you can fill them in with your smaller rock crystals, which can be painted later on. Once the crystals are in place, I've got some purple gel which I've mixed with some lemon extract. This will easily colour your rock crystals, and I'm concentrating the darker colour down the centre where the channel will be at its deepest and darkest. You want to use lemon extract for this as it evaporates much quicker than water and you don't want to be left with a soggy mess. I've then done the same with blue gel. I'm painting the outside of the purple, also merging the colours together as they blend. I've then just put some pure lemon extract onto my brush, and I'm pulling some of that blue out onto the outer edge as it gets lighter. Once that's done, grab your favourite gold dust. This one is Regency Gold by Faye, also mixed with lemon extract, and I'm wiggling my paintbrush up and down the edges. You'll notice I'm not going for clean lines. I want an organic edge, like the crystals have ripped it open. You can also paint your resin wands with metallic dust and lemon extract to pull the whole design together. You would not know which ones are edible and which were resin, but obviously make sure to inform your customers. Lastly, I'm going in with some larger stars using the white dust. And we're done. I hope you learned something from this tutorial and that you enjoyed watching it. You can always give your cake a spritz of glaze spray all over to seal in the crystals, especially if you've used isomalt to stop them from melting. It will also bring back a bit of shine to your galaxy finish. Please give me a thumbs up and consider subscribing if you're new here for tutorials pretty much every Tuesday. Thanks guys, see you next week.